Hello and welcome to my channel. I thought I would let you in on the start, I guess, of my setup for my next section on my kit. This is Diamond Art Club. This is I Miss You, and I'm getting ready. Maybe we'll do this kind of section. So what I want to do is take out my jars for the next bit. So I'm looking at some of the different symbols. T, that's the K. I will need the black. There's ABs, there's ABs. The key on this, I think, is only at the top corner. So I don't know where in order these colors are. My one saving grace is that the legend came with the numbers on the containers. So on the drill fit, shine. So you've got the number, the icon, the color, whatever the grid is, and then you've got the DMC code. So I can at least know where it goes back into in the slots. Okay, red arrow. Maybe by the end of this, I'll know where each of the bits go. And what I do when I finish with the color, I don't put them all the way back down into my bag. I leave them kind of poking out a bit so that if I miss one and I realize I've missed one, I can just look at the ones that are all raised. It's a little bit different from working with my pillbox containers. Can't say I hate it, can't say I love it. I guess it just is what it is. There are a few arrows in this. I've got a right pointing arrow, left pointing arrow, and a down pointing arrow. What am I missing? I'm missing the hat or speed bump. Going blind. There it is. Oh, there's a hash. I got the E. I got the E. E. Bottom triangle. There's a couple of the triangles too. There's a top left, bottom left, and there's a top right. No, bottom right. I've got the T and the Y. I think that might be everything. That doesn't equal another plus. There's only a couple of those. So what I try and do is get the ones with the least out of the way. There's also I was going to say it's a divided sign, but it's just the line, not quite the divided sign. There it is. My daughter chewed on that one, and the sticker almost melted instantly. Okay, I think that's it. That just sits over to the side, and these also will move. What I did last night, so I was working on this for most of yesterday, watching Mrs. Coffee's Labs and doing that kind of thing. I think I did that section yesterday. Let me get the washi tape out of here. So I will leave it down. This, I don't like clear covers normally. This is a thicker clear cover, and it doesn't sound quite so crackly and horrible. Now, I don't need this release quite so high. Put that down. Yeah, I've actually gone and utilised my other clear cover. I was going to show you the difference in crackle sound. I need to get cover minders. They are in the mail, just so I can keep them firm. But yeah, not a fan of the clear cover. I didn't know what to do with it. Didn't know how to divide it so that I wasn't uncovering everything and then having a full sheet of sticky. But I'm getting there. I've asked Jeremy how he did his, because he had his sectioned off nice and square with the washi tape, and Mrs. Coffee as well has. I think she tears hers halfway along, and she just works then on the open bit. I've got a missed one. I missed why. Nope, I must have it. Okay. Pen. Finding that working with the rounds has been not too bad. Let's go with the minimal first. Yeah, you'll have to excuse me. I've had a week off work because I've had a bloody cough. I thought I was going to rip the throat out of my neck last Monday morning. It was so raw and so sore. I'd been fighting it from the previous Friday. And I think the reason I got the cold was because life was getting way, way too stressful with some child issues, which I'm not going to go into great detail on. But I was getting so stressed, and I think then I succumbed to the lurgy that goes around my office, because my office colleagues don't believe in staying the hell away from the office when they get sick. Now, I have an office on my own, but I still managed to succumb to this bugger of a thing. So yeah, I got ill, and while my head was clear, thank God, because it wasn't a head cold as such, I was in all kinds of pain and not enjoying it. So I've gone through a whole bottle of cough medicine that tastes disgusting. I don't know where they come up with these flavors of saying it's strawberry and vanilla. It is absolutely foul. I remember when I was a kid having cough medicine from Welcome. It was a syrup, it was red, and it was strawberry. And from my memory, that tasted yummy. I certainly didn't seem to have any issues having that medicine, and you didn't have that disgusting aftertaste. I don't know. Well, maybe they've changed it. It's certainly a different brand. Look, Australia have different drugs than Ireland used to. So I don't even know if I could get the Welcome, but yeah, I kind of wish I could right now. Mind you, I did get a cough medicine when I was in boarding school. It was aniseed flavour, and I haven't been able to eat aniseed or licorice ever since because I got sick. I actually threw up from it, and it's the last time I was able to eat aniseed. And I used to eat licorice all sorts. Now the only licorice I can do is raspberry licorice, which I don't think is licorice at all, because it's not. Yeah, my husband's gagging over in the corner at the raspberry licorice idea, but yeah, it's not licorice, so it's fine. Licorice is quite popular here in Tasmania. In the lolly stores, there's they call them bullets, or they get them in twists. So the bullets are little sausages of licorice wrapped in a coating of chocolate, usually milk chocolate. So they're bullets. You can also get white chocolate bullets. I don't know if they go as far as dark chocolate, but milk and white I've definitely seen. But yeah, I would ever indulge in there. I'm not using a lightpad today. I have to try some going on the edge of it. But it's bright and sunny out for this cold winter's day. There was frost on the grass this morning when I went out to feed the animals. We had a what is it? Bennett's wallaby eating my cat food that had spilt the other day. She was just outside my daughter's window, and she had a joey on board. And I kind of thought, cat food is probably not best for her to be eating, although she must be hungry. There's plenty of grass around, but she must be hungry. And I put out some silver beet leaves. I put them out when she was there. She was sitting on our driveway, and I threw one down, and she sat there. And when I threw the second one down, she got spooked. She bolted to where the dog could have caught her. I'm not sure what he would have done. He probably would have licked her to death, to be honest. I gave her the silver beet. I went out then, or looked out the window a short time later, and she was back, having returned to eat it. So that was all kind of cute. So at least I know she's benefiting from the green. And it was a very soggy silver beet. So while silver beet rejuvenates in water really, really well, I found it was nice to be able to give some to the wildlife as we come into winter. We have, we're in a street that's kind of suburbia, but just at the end of the street, we go into a kind of bush reserve, as they call it in Australia or Tasmania. It's basically just a tree-lined hill. I think they had a law where you weren't allowed to build on the tops of hills, or at least if you did, your house wasn't allowed to be visible. So all the low hills around Hobart are treed. So if you're lucky, you get the slight elevation where I think we've worked out we're about 100 meters up from sea level, 120 from sea level. So we've got a bit of a view across the river, and yeah, we're up on the hill near enough some trees. There's a little reservoir tank up top for the water company, and there's a mobile phone antenna. So that's pretty much it. There's some trails where people have either gone up with mountain bikes. We get the odd trail bike going up, which is not meant to. And those woods, bush areas, the trails, I think, can potentially lead up into the national park area of Mount Wellington. I haven't looked in great detail on the map, but I know other reserves certainly do. So we're pretty lucky. So we actually have a view to the west, southwest of our mountain, which is the major focal point of our city. It's a bit like South Africa's Table Cape, or is it Table Mountain? We have Mount Wellington. So you get to see that. I think that's all of the pluses. I'm finding, as you can see there, that I can skate the drills along the plastic, the glue cover. I saved it. All right. Any more pluses? Yes. So yesterday, big floaty. Yesterday I made chocolate Rice Krispie biscuits, if you want to call them that. They are basically Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate, melted, and Rice Bubbles, Rice Krispies mixed into them. In Australia, they have, I will say, this is a disgusting habit, they use something called Kofa, which I think is just like a lard, maybe it's cocoa solids, I'm not actually sure because it looks disgusting, and then they colour it with cocoa, and I think there's something else goes into it, and that's what Aussies tend to use. And whenever I make my, they're very fake ones. So whenever I make my Rice Krispie biscuits and people take a taste of it, it's like, oh my god, this is just incredible. So yeah, I certainly enjoy blowing the Aussie taste buds out of the water. So I have been drinking tea by the gallon through this sore throat. But yesterday my husband gave me this, which is the double-walled teapot, to give me hot tea on the go. So I'm having less in my mug and it's hotter for longer. So excuse me while I sip on my tea, because that will avoid me coughing into the microphone. In saying that, I'm just going to take a very, very quick break. Stand by. Alright, sorry, just checking that my recording was working, because I've got a headphone in and I don't know that I've used it before, or I don't know that it's worked properly before, so I just want to make sure it did. So yeah, part of the WiPnChat was to kind of apologize for the lack of videos this week, in one way, because I just did not have the lung capacity to be able to talk and do the unboxings. Although I know I did get some up. That was from last weekend before the coughing got bad, and it was just dealing with sore throat. And what I actually did was schedule them for, I think it was a video a day, then to upload. But I was really missing doing some WiPnChat. I have been catching up on others on YouTube, on their videos. So I've been listening to them. I've been sitting in my chair. I've got the heat going, and I haven't really been moving much during this time. My daughter comes to me if she wants something. She knows that I've got a stash of lollies to my right, so she normally makes a beeline for that, and sometimes she will sit on my lap, but other times she will start pawing at everything in sight until I actually chuck her down, because she's driving me nuts. She has what we call flicky fingers, and they can work a touch screen or a sticky field, and she scratches at the drills, and I don't want her popping the drills off. Or to yesterday, well, not yesterday, one of the days she was playing with the sticky fields and her whole hand was getting stuck on it. So it was very cute. I did end up with, I think, whatever she had eaten. And now that I think about it, I think it was a vanilla wafer filling. It got stuck on my sticky, and I had to use a baby wipe to clean it off, because I ended up putting a drill down and it didn't stick, and it was like, what that? And then I could see this kind of waxy coating on it. So yeah, it just kind of wanted to explain the whole flat kind of presentations on my video, lacking some of the intonations and not wanting to laugh, because if I laugh I'm going to cough, and it's driving me nuts at the moment with the tiny bits of phlegm that kind of sit at the back of your throat. So I've been trying to drink lots on what was it, day 2 or day 3? I found my sherbet lemons and was eating those, but I actually found this time around with my cold, I was drinking tea. Sometimes I will drink hot water. I missed a plus. And I found hot water is really good for a sore throat. Because I'm still feeding Sophie, I can't take things like Sudafed to dry things out. Sudafed, well, yeah, Sudafed, is it Sudafed? Whatever it is for the pseudoephedrine, the good stuff, the one that you need your driver's license for, because phenylephrine doesn't bloody work. Anyway, yeah, I can't take that because it dries me out, and I'm feeding her for as long as I possibly can. Not that it's her main nutrition source by any means, but it seems to be her nighttime drug of choice to put her back asleep. And I don't know how long it's going to go on for, and I don't know if we're going to ever be lucky enough to have another kid. Apparently we have a 3% chance of falling pregnant at the age of 46. So while we're not avoiding it, we know the odds are definitely not in our favour, so we are definitely blessed if we manage. Where else? Yeah, I wanted to talk about stress management because some of how I've dealt with this has fallen back onto the stress management. Not all of the tools in my tool bag were utilised. I think I've touched on this before. When I was pregnant with Sophie, my psychologist gave me some tips because I was getting particularly stressed. I was getting stressed about whether she was doing okay and whether I might miscarry her or whether something might go wrong, and I didn't feel her move that second, and all this kind of crap that was going through my head. Now, you've got to understand, I've already had major depression, so I guess in a way my brain is more easily tuned to going into the negative crap than it might have been. And while I've had 5 successful pregnancies, my last 2 with my ex were miscarriages. So I was again absolutely petrified. I'm not going to carry this one to term. And, you know, my OBGYN, who we decided to go privately with for a little while, we actually went halfway through the pregnancy with him because he was awesome. He was so reassuring. Both he and my husband vetoed me getting a Doppler to be able to find the baby's heartbeat, because you notoriously don't find the baby's heartbeat. You find your own, or you don't find anything. I know, I'm getting there. And so I wasn't allowed a fetal Doppler. I'm kind of thinking, he's after. But they said if I ever had any concerns to come in, and I could get scanned. So that was reassuring. And I did do that. I don't know that I did it every time I worried, but I certainly did it probably more than I might have ordinarily have done so. There was no scares of miscarriages or anything else. Like, there was no bleeding or anything. We weren't, walking each day on a knife edge. It was just my mental space where my brain was going. So they wouldn't let me use fetal Doppler, and I think I cursed and swore at them regularly because it didn't seem to help with my stress levels. And anyway, then my blood pressure started going up, and I'm going, look, if I was back in my old place, we had a blood pressure monitor. If only I still had that, and I was told, no, don't go testing your own blood pressure, because I was getting migraine headaches as well. I'd never had migraine headaches, so what I was worried about was if I was having a migraine and the high blood pressure, that it was a sign of preeclampsia. So I was all kinds of paranoid about this and getting worried, and I was told, no, you are not allowed to take your own blood pressure. My husband, anyway, he was trying to look out for me, in that if my blood pressure was up, was I only going to worry then even more? So he had logic behind his ideas, which was fine, and I wore it for a while. I didn't get preeclampsia, I'm very glad to say. The only thing I did get was gestational diabetes, and I think that was because I had what's called a circumvallate placenta, which basically means that the placenta curls in on itself and you don't get the full pad against the uterine wall. But Sophie thrived. She did fine. She was little because my husband reckons he was little and he has little babies. Excuse me. So some of the techniques I learned. Oh, and the other bonus was Sophie did a monstrous jump when she was 11 weeks cooked, and that was hugely reassuring. And it wasn't every day that I was feeling her kick. It was often enough that I had the reassurance. So my psychologist gave me the 5 sensory kind of tools to use, and I have used them since on multiple occasions. And I think I might have touched on it on one of my other whips, but I'm just going to go over it again because this is what I used when I was going through my stressful time this week. The 5 senses being sight, sound, touch, taste, and sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. I always miss out one of them in the first rundown through it. It's ridiculous. So I haven't lit any candles. I have them next to me, but I haven't lit any. What I did do was journal this time around. On a particularly stressful time, I will play my music, particularly if I'm in the kitchen. Listening to YouTube has certainly helped because it's kind of got me out of my crap and into someone else's world temporarily. So other YouTubers have been awesome. It's like being able to catch up with girlfriends, and I don't necessarily have to feel like I have to speak, which is good. And while I've had life experiences that I could share, I decided not to because it was too much effort, or I was in too much emotional pain anyway to want to share. I know one YouTuber had offered to be a sounding board for me, and I know there's others who would certainly be there if I needed to. She actually said that she would try not to go into fix-it mode, which I think is really cool given her profession. Yeah, that was really, really good because I had emailed her before the fallout, and she had a vague idea of what was going on, but then when the fallout hit, it was like, oh, okay, it's worse than we thought. From my point of view, it was worse than we thought. Anyway, so this time around, I journaled, I vented big time on my computer on a particular app that I use, to the point where I was, I think, quite brutal in what I was saying, like, so there's swearing in it, and like, I was directing my vent towards the person who had done such grievous harm on me. So that helps. I've been journaling since I've been, I think, 15 is when I first had journals. I probably started I was doing it before I met one particular guy who ended up writing to me, and we pen palled. He used to send me letters on A5 paper, like the proper notebook paper, like, writing paper. that you used to be able to get. You can't really, I don't think you can get it these days. But anyway, note paper. And they were Garfield. He always sent Garfield paper. And it was brightly coloured, so I've got these pages of A4 red pages, and he's got this big flowery writing. And anyway, we used to write to each other. I think I got involved in some other pen friend kind of things when I was in, let's say, primary school, but I'm not sure it was primary school. It must have been secondary, but it could have been the first couple of years. I'm not even sure how that one came about. It was this form that was like multicolored, and you picked all your different categories, and they matched you up and things like that. But yeah, so I had friends, but anyway, at some point I got into journaling. It was the only way I could vent as a teenager. When I was grieving my mum dying and dad working and my sister going to, where'd she go first? I think she went to Kenya first as a missionary occupational therapist. The one thing that really irked me about that, she used to give out all the time that I never wrote to her. Yet when I wrote to her, she never wrote back. Used to just drive me bonkers. This double standards of, oh, you must write. And then when I did write, I didn't get a response. I was like, okay. Yeah, she was there for years, and I know that we argued. I think she was 16 years older than me. She tried to become mum after mum died. I guess she felt that she had to step into some kind of role like that, and I either didn't appreciate it, couldn't connect with her anyway, because to me she was, I don't know, I just couldn't relate to her. She was academic, and she was kind of strong Christian, and she would, quote Bible verses to me all the time, and I just felt she couldn't have a real conversation with me, I think. I didn't see her struggle. I didn't see her with boyfriends. She was very private in her life. So there wasn't that kind of reciprocal sharing. So anyway, we didn't necessarily get on brilliantly. I did get on better with my 11-year older sister. And we could talk for hours on the phone. And she had moved out when she was 16 because she had had a baby. But she would come back to the house regularly often. She and her daughter, who was 6 years younger than me, would come visit. Apparently I used to torment my niece. Sorry, Kim. But yeah, we'd get on really, really well. And I'd get on really, really well with my other brother, who was not really an academic. He was a hands-on. He was a metal fabricator. He would do that. And then my oldest brother was another academic. I ended up having to share a bedroom with him. He was 17 years older than me. Yeah. I had to share a bedroom with him at one point. While our house was, I guess, too small for 5 kids and 2 adults. No idea how old I was then. Maybe it was when I was in boarding school and I came home on my monthly visits. Yeah, that was fun. Had a delivery this week of photographs, and part of the photograph bundle, which I'm absolutely thrilled at, is photos of my old dogs. So when it comes to me doing All Dogs Go to Heaven, I've got photos that I can show you of my dogs, which is really, really good because I've had, a few dozen. I think. I don't think I've ever been without a dog for long. And while I've got a dog currently, he lives outside. I used to use my dogs all the time for cleaning up food messes. And this one doesn't even get in for the food messes. I think he did once. There was like a packet of crisps or something thrown on the ground, and he got to come in for that, and he did a terrible job cleaning up, so I stopped. But if it was something wet, it just seems to be easier to clean it. So yeah, he's outdoors, and he's on a fly line, which is like I don't know what you'd describe it as. I'm not sure what your equivalent would be over in the States. Basically, it's a wire, and he's then chained on the wire. At one end, he's got the sunny patch of the garden. The sun was over the house this morning at 8 a.m. It was frosty on the grass, and Mocka was still in his kennel, which is a large kennel. But he curls up like a cat. He's got cushions, and I have to have the damn thing carpeted, because if it's anything less than carpet, he will eat it, as he has done. I put a coat on him one day, and I think it lasted half an hour before he chewed it to shreds. So while people might, if they were to look at him, go, "Oh, you're really cruel, you know, he's got a dog, he's outside, and it's 0 degrees, and it's cold," and I'm kind of going, the bastard will not keep a coat on. So if he's stupid enough to eat the coats that I got for him, then he can bloody well freeze. I do make sure I give him enough food that he's got a bit of a layer of fat on him, but I hate fat dogs. With a vengeance, I hate fat dogs. He's only, he's a beagle, so I don't know, maybe 25, maybe 30 kilos at a push. If he was to be fat by, say, 5 kilos, that's a huge proportion of weight doing so much damage on his bones that he would have a much shorter lifespan. I hate to see dogs walking around that are like barrels, like wine barrels. They're so fat. I've got a neighbor who has, I think he's got 3 dogs I saw, and at least 2 of them were hugely, hugely obese. And I'm thinking, oh my God, these poor dogs, you know, they're going to die of heart failure just trying to carry the weight around as they waddled around. I don't think I've ever had an overweight dog in my life. I've just kept their food balance just ticking over. For whatever movement they do, they get more food. So when Latte and Mocka used to do their beach run, where they used to run away down to the beach for hours at a time for a play and then come home, Latte's weight dropped off him big time. So I actually increased his food to get him back to having no ribs. So when you rubbed his side, you couldn't feel the ribs quite so defined. So yeah, that's how I work it. It's food in and movement out. How I've always done it. I used to. I'm delighted. I've got photos of my first dog, Tinker. When I was a teenager, I used to wash him. He has German Shepherd colouring. He was a Bitzer. His mother was, I think, a lab. I don't know what the hell his dad was, but anyway, you'll see photos at some point. So he was this mottled kind of semi-shaggy coat, long, skinny greyhound-like legs, and I used to wash him reasonably regularly because he was an indoor dog. And when I washed him, I would give him a very rough towel dry, and I had my bike ready to go. I would jump on my bike and he would run alongside me, and that was how I got him dry. So he would go for a run, I would go for a bike ride, and he would literally get the heat into him, and Excuse me. And yeah, get dry that way. He was an awesome dog. I actually used to train him, not that he needed much training, to attack. And I had this sound, I'm like, and he'd jump up and he'd chew on my arm, but he'd only chew on my arm with any great gusto if it was covered. If it was bare, he wouldn't do it. And I also trained him to break and stuff, but yeah, I don't know if he would ever attack anyone, but it was play fighting with me. So yeah, but anyway, no, enough of the dog stories, because that's for a different way. Yeah, so I journaled and vented and got some of my stress out in that way. Got some of my stress out with my husband as we came up with all kinds of scenarios of what we might do to people or not do. Yeah, I don't think there's an easy way to get revenge on people and not be found out. I saw a hash symbol. Where are you? So yeah, I've started this. I don't normally have 2 kits on the go, but I started this because my custom, let's call it a custom sunset. It's a view from a beach that I used to walk on, which is where the dogs used to go play, which was just down from my old home. It was a kind of shelly kind of beach rather than a sand. It was some sand. I forgot what I'm doing. So yeah, lots of shells, and in some areas there was more shells than others. On one occasion, I actually went down and I think I brought a bucket, loaded up with a whole lot of shells, put them into a pretty bottle that I had. I think I had 2 or 3 of them, and put the stopper on. Now my problem was putting the stopper on. It turned out that the shells, while they looked empty, weren't. And they were all tiny, tiny, tiny. Like you're talking a centimeter tiny, spiral shells. So the little kind of pointy cones. So yeah, I put them into water, and I put the seal on, and I put the bottles on the wall, and they looked really pretty. Until one day I came down to an explosion, and one of the bottles had exploded because I guess the body bits did its thing in the water, and the pressure on the sealed cap was too much, and it blew the bottle apart. So I didn't go collecting shells after that, without knowing that they were actually empty. I wasn't normally one for collecting shells, and I didn't usually let my kids collect shells because what are we going to do with shells? So we'd maybe play with them on the beach, but we never found any awesome shells on the beach, on our beach, because it was too shallow in the bay. We certainly didn't get things like conches coming in. I would have kept those. Because they're all kinds of cool, but I don't recall ever seeing anything other than the flat-sided scallop shells on Tasmanian beaches, and I've been to a few, including one that's called 7 Mile Beach, which is straight off the Southern Ocean. Where did you go? I dropped one. There it is. So yeah, not even exciting shells off the beach where you expect it to come in on. But then there wasn't any land for it to wash in, I guess, any nice shells. I think up on the mainland they get nice shells on the beaches. But I haven't done Queensland, Northern Territory kind of trips. And I'm not sure if I ever will. I would like to. I guess a bucket list for me would be traveling around Australia, and seeing some of the awesome towns and countryside. And well, they don't even call it countryside; they call it the bush. And yeah, maybe I'll just have to be a grey nomad or something. Trying to get time off work would be one issue. The cost of living. I've never understood how people can have swathes of time off without any income to be able to do holidays like this. Stuck together drill. Yeah, so I've always been quite amused by that. Like, do you save up? Or if you don't save up, how do you keep going? And do you work as you go? What do you do as you do these traveling holidays? What did you say? Oh, yeah, my husband said become a YouTube star. Yeah. Well, I suppose I could if I was recording where I am and sites and taking people on tours and, yeah, become an influencer. Apparently they're getting bad names for themselves lately. And being a YouTuber influencer or an Instagram influencer, because they are deadbeats who don't have jobs, apparently. Oh, there was a job going where you became an influencer. You got I think it was Queensland that gave it away. You got a job at a kind of beach resort, where I'm not even sure there was people, but you were to vlog or blog your daily life, and it was part tourism, part, hey, we'll pay you to do this, but you had to effectively live alone. You had to be on the social media fairly regularly, doing your updates and all that kind of thing. Now that looks cool, but I guess they picked people who already had a following, and then they got even more of a following because it was, a big media thing, kind of, hey, come and work for us. You're going to be Insta famous, or excuse me, or you're going to be, working this job where you're literally on holiday for a year, and all you have to do is blog about it. That was the job criteria. So of course there was hundreds of applicants, because it's basically a job where you don't have to work. It's working for fun, or getting paid for fun. Maybe that's the better term. Which is, I suppose, what anyone would want to be able to do. I should have put these into a tray, but the problem is if I put them in the tray sticks where I'm going to put it down. This is not bad while I've got enough wax in my pen that I'm not having to use any pressure to pick up my drills. I don't feel like I'm going very fast with this whole process. Like I'll show you now in a second. This section here, I don't know, felt like it took all day yesterday just to go from start to finish. I finished at 9 o'clock and I was on and off. I was pretty much working on it most of Mrs. Coffee's life. So that's 3 hours. I don't think I was typing overly much. There was the odd comment. I did stop to feed Sophie her lunch through the middle of it. So yeah, maybe it was 2 hours during the live, and then it was another hour or two in the afternoon, and another hour after dinner. But yeah, I have been a bit slack in getting my progress timer on, because it's almost like, sure, as soon as you put it on, Sophie will wake, or she'll be crying down the other end of the house, which means I've got to stop everything and take my earbud out so I can deal with her, because if I go down the other end of the house, it disconnects from my computer. The Bluetooth isn't that far. I feel like I'm making a mess of this. See the beauty, you can just slide them. This I Miss You has two ABs. It's got pale pink, and it's got a pale yellow. Number 1 and number 2. Where are you? 128 and 130 are the numbers. I don't think they refer to anything other than the AB number that they've got. I know Stephanie has. Okay, this is not Stephanie. Tina. All right, let's talk about sparklers and her ABs for a second. Tina approached the bigger YouTubers. So who have I seen there? She's got Stitcherista. I think she sent some to Margie, and it was either Donnie or Ella she sent sparklers to. I get the impression Danielle Stitcherista knew about it in advance. Margie may have. Oh, Natalia. Excuse me. I can't think of Natalia's YouTube channel now. But Natalia got them, and she didn't recognize the name on her bag because I think Tina used her married name or maiden name or something was different. And Tina's been a long time subscriber and friend to Natalia on her channel. So there's been a few of the bigger YouTubers out there who have got these what's called sparklers. So if you want to look on YouTube for sparklers, the only thing I can say that maybe they're similar to that you might have heard of would be the DIY Moon Shop electric diamonds. I'm kind of thinking, what the hell is an electric diamond? Thinking, are you just doing your own kind of AB diamonds and blowing your own trumpet? Because DIY Moon Shops, while they might have some gorgeous kits, they're so blinking expensive. I was watching could be wrong now. Was it Dutch Dog? Maybe not. Anyway, it was a YouTuber who got Elsa and no, it was Diamond in the Rough. She got Elsa in something like a 60 by 100, and she got the merry-go-round with lights from DIY Moon Shop. Again, it was, I don't know, 60 by 120 or something. She got some massive paintings, and they cost when I went, because she's Aussie, and she was talking about going up to Cairns next week. So yeah, Aussie. She got them, and I clicked on the link because Elsa looks absolutely incredible. It's a close-up, pretty much, of a face, with the blonde hair and everything else, and they've electric diamond bits of it. And she showed the electric diamonds close up, and yeah, they do. They look like the sparklers. So anyway, clicked on this, and it was $138 for the size that she got hers in, and it was like, oh my god, US. So $138 US for something that is over a meter in size. So that would be like my Daisy Lake scene plus my Leonard Afromov side by side. That's one huge picture. For a start, I don't really think I have the wall space. Oh, lungs. This that I'm working on, I think, is 50. I think I'd even struggle to find somewhere to work on a painting that big. And while they're absolutely incredible, $138 US would be 200 plus Aussie dollars, plus your shipping of $40 from the Philippines. for DHL. And the only thing it did make me do is I went onto the site for DIY Moon Shop and I went through their catalogue of everything. Their expensive kits are their art collaborations. Anna Diekman, I think is her name, who did Elsa, is absolutely incredible as an artist, but I don't think I'd be getting anything of hers anytime soon, just because of the cost, and then secondly because of the size. Like, my house is small. I don't have that many wall areas to put something like this on. Yeah. Anyway, so sparkler diamonds. So anyway, I've seen them on DIY Moon Shop all the time because Rowana does her videos and they're just awesome, and they do the explanation. Now I have seen black ABs on my special diamond kits, and I have seen other color ABs on my special rhinestone kits. But I don't know that I have ever seen the sparklers. Now the sparklers would seem to be, I'm going to throw these ones in the trainer. Let's see if I can go any faster. The sparklers seem to be glass with not an AB coating, but with a silver kind of foil coating on the top. So it's kind of like the bottom of a drill, a special drill that's been coated, but this time around it's the facets that have been coated. So they are all the sparkly. They look incredible, but I think they're made out of glass rather than a resin. Diamond in the Rough was talking about them being heavier than regular drills, so heavier than the plastic drills. So anyway, I've put an order in with Tina for 2 of her bags. They're $1,400 in a bag, $3 each. She's been managed to source as near as she could to the electric diamonds. I think she had got some DIY Moon Shop diamonds. Loved the idea of them. Somehow has done her research. She's found out a supplier, and she's selling these. And so she was promoting her business through the YouTube influencers, who have then caused her. This was funny because Stitcherista was the first video that I saw that went up with the sparklers, and with Stitcherista's influence, she sold out. And then more people kept coming in going, I'm here from Donnie, or I'm here from Margie, or whatever. Now, Tina does not only do the sparkler diamonds, she also does tweezers. She does metal tweezers with a square end for $2. She does stickers for 25 cents each, or the full set of 18 for $3. I think it is $3 or $4. And her stickers are diamonds. So it's maybe 3 inches high, and it's a side-on diamond with different kind of coloring through the facets. They're, watercolor kind of finish with the solid black lines. It's quite graphic. Kind of similar to what Donnie has on her backdrop when she does her recordings. You know how she's got the big stickers? Kind of similar to that, some of those diamond stickers. So Tina's got that on offer. And she also has sourced 23 of the ABs. Now, Tina's ABs are numbered for the actual DMC number. So they're not 130128 like Diamond Art Club. They are actually 820 and 819. Anyway, she's got a range of different colors in the ABs. And the bags that she's selling them in, I think the ABs also come in like a 1400 bag as well. So if you want to add your accents to it, you can. Now, I know Ella has just recently been promoting Hankin as a store on AliExpress, and she recently got the 23 colors of ABs, but their colors are 200 in quantity. They have got all the color range that Tina has been able to do, but she's not selling them in the same quantity, or Hankin is not selling them in the same quantity or value. Tina is also shipping from the States. She's getting the stock, and she is then selling from there or shipping from there. She is shipping worldwide. She will ship to Australia. She said to me that she had just done a fulfillment for somebody else in Australia, because I said, oh, I've got to wait for money to come in. And then she gave me an idea of the postage. The postage is going to be $14, $15 to get to Australia. That was up to 8 ounces in weight, and the lady who she was shipping to had ordered 11 bags in her order. So if you're keen, it's certainly possible for you to ship worldwide, and that might give you an idea of how many bags you might get. So 11 bags is quite good. So for now, I've ordered or pre-ordered 2 bags of the sparklers. I don't think I'll order the ABs. I think, oops, that's 2. I don't think I'll order the different ABs. I think the happy medium with diamond paintings that do use ABs, so the likes of Diamond Art Club, they've worked out where they want the highlights already. And I don't want to saturate the canvas with extra sparkle. Now, Tina did show a video. I've got some sticky drills here on this. Tina did show some examples of her accenting with the sparkles on Snow Queen. And it does look gorgeous, but she used, I think, kind of buckles or areas on the dress where she concentrated like 4 or 5 of the sparklers into the area. And when she took a moving video, it did look absolutely incredible. So you've got the AB sparkle, and then you've got the sparkler sparkle, and it did look amazing. And she wasn't overdoing where she was using it. And I think that's the trick. It's knowing not to overdo it. Oops. All right. I am going to say some things about Diamond Art Club's drills. Like, I know there's a lot of raving about Diamond Art Club, and they're good in the most part. I haven't had a huge amount of trash, but I have had trash. I've had drills that have what I'll call little skirts. I think I've got a drill over here. I was looking at it this morning when I had Sophie on my lap, and it was like a Swiss cheese, and I didn't realize it when I was placing it down. Here. It's got little holes through it, or on top of the surface, like bubbles. So they've got skirts. They've got not perfect. They do have 26 facets, so they are completely different from AliExpress. I think Ali have, was it 18 or 19 facets on them. These are pointier. What I'll try and do is, when I have a kit open, because I'm working with a round here and my other custom is a square, so it's not fair really to compare apples and oranges. But what I will do is try and find either some rounds or get a square kit out just to do a drill comparison. And I'm going to be maybe careful in how I do it. I don't want to have the colors identical, but I don't want the colors to make a difference in how you see the shine. So you then go, oh, well, that one's more shiny than the other one because it's, you know, a different color. I want them to be similar, maybe in tone or something, so, but I don't want to mix them up either. So we can see what the actual difference is with the 26 facets from a shine point of view and your typical 18, 19 facets that you'd get from an Ali kit. So I'll try and do that. I have some plans in the pipeline. I've made an order on both stitches to stones and I can't remember which store it was. I just did a search for round blank canvas. Dang. So what I'm doing, I've got what I'm calling an abstract flower. I've got the square kit, I've got the round kit. You will see an upcoming video from it. I will do it when I've got all 3 bits in. I'll upload it when I've got all 3 bits in, but I recorded it when I unboxed the square and the round, and there's an instant comparison with that. And then what I've done is I've got the square pattern. I've ordered a kit myself, basically, which is going to be the round drills in the square pattern. So it's going to be not comparable size for size, because what I've ended up doing is buying identical sizes, but it's going to be color for color. So the comparison is whether or not the square diamonds give a better looking picture than round diamonds when you've got the same area. Now, the only thing that's going to be wrong, I guess, with this comparison is that it's not a purpose-made kit. I'm doing it on a blank canvas. Now, unless I get my photocopying brilliant, it'll be a white background. If I can get my photocopying well enough and matching size, I potentially, why did I do that? That was silly. I potentially could stick the paper onto the canvas and just do it from the grid. My worry with doing that is that if I stick the paper on a sticky canvas and it's wrong or it's got creases, I'm not going to be able to fix it. But I did just think, when you're putting a phone screen protection on a new phone, you spray the adhesive with water so that you've got a little bit of movement and give, and you can get rid of bubbles. And I wonder if that technique might work in putting the paper onto the grid canvas. My problem would be then that I lose my circle guides and I've got my squares, so I don't know that it would work. So I might just have to work like a cross stitch. I don't think my photocopying is going to be good enough to find out what scale I needed to get me the 2.8. The only place I could do the copying with freedom really would be work. And not only is it slightly frowned upon, it's frowned upon by my husband because, you know, work ethics and work pays for work stuff and not pleasure stuff. And I don't know how many pages I'd be having to photocopy to get the right scale. The other place would be a place called Officeworks, and you have to pay a stupid amount of money to play with their printer. Because their markup is completely ridiculous, and I actually object to using them as much as possible. So I actually use a little printer nearby, but in saying that, again, it's the whole playing with the printing, and yeah, I don't know. I'll have a think, but again, putting the paper on the grid would be handy, but if I was able to blow it up so that the squares are then 2.8, I think it might need to be 2.9 to allow for the spacing. And then be able to put the rounds on the squared thing, which would end up looking like a diamond art club thing, because these are actually squares with the training wheel in it for the round, but the square background kind of bleeds out so that it all blends. Yeah, not quite convinced on how that's going to work, so it could be easier just to do the blank, but then I'm going to have the white showing through, so some drawbacks to either idea. All right. All right. I'm up to about 55 minutes. Sophie has woken up. My reminders are now going off to say it's her lunchtime. So I need to go get food and put it in the steamer for her, or figure out what she's going to have for lunch. I had to threaten her this morning with her dad feeding her breakfast because she spat the dummy and didn't want breakfast, which was Weet-Bix and apple and cinnamon puree and warm milk, because who likes cold Weet-Bix when you can have warm, and it melts better. Anyway, that's what she started off on for breakfast. And she migrated to porridge, but we haven't been doing porridge for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, she took one look at it and she didn't like it. And then yesterday when I was feeding her a roast, she was like, no, I don't want it. And then she has her first spoonful and then she eats it. Although last night she didn't want it. I think she screamed for nearly everyone. So as soon as we mentioned, will I get Daddy to feed you? She shut up and she started eating. So he's a little perturbed by her behavior doing that. But yeah, I hate the fighting over the food. Might have to do something different. Maybe a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The problem is when I give her food for her to eat on her own, she throws a lot of it on the ground, and she's not exactly big, so she can't afford. Oops, I'm stuck. Big time, I'm stuck. She's not exactly big and hasn't got the weight to play with, so she really needs to eat what she's given. But yeah, she's given her a chance to feed herself. She'll start lobbing it onto the floor. Oh, she'll look at you and actually lob it onto the floor. So she'll eat the first bit of broccoli and then she'll throw the rest on the ground. And then she might eat the first snow pea and she'll throw the rest on the ground. Or she might look at the bean and then, I don't know, play with it for a bit and then go to throw it. Like, oh, I'm not doing this game. So I still blitz her roasts on Sundays. well, sorry, the roast is made on a Sunday. It's blitzed at some point during the week to a mush. So she gets a roast dinner, fully contained. So it's got all the veggies, it's got the gravy, it's got the meat, and she's got that all contained in the mush. And I know she's getting a set portion, and she's getting it into her as a set portion, fully mixed. But it's not really how I'd like her to eat dinner. So things like pasta nights, where my husband makes fettuccine from scratch. And I throw in things like snow peas and mushrooms, and then there's a creamy sauce that I buy in a tub that's just gorgeous, an Alfredo, one of my favorites, or a carbonara, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's creamy and it's got bacon bits in it and all that kind of stuff. So there's more than enough to give her a small bowl as well. So she has her tea, and then she has another single portion, I guess, of pasta. Because if I don't give her her own portion, she'll be trying to scab it off me, and it just drives me bonkers. That I can't eat my dinner without her going, I want some, and I should have some. So yeah, she gets some of those. I gave her, she came into the kitchen, I think it was yesterday, and she does her usual for food, and her hand is out, and I'm going, you don't even know what I've got. So I give her what I've got, and it's a small piece of onion, and she put it in her mouth, and she tasted it, and she kind of went, oh, this isn't a biscuit, this isn't something nice. And then she stuck it back in her mouth again, and she ate the small piece of onion, the lunatic. And then I gave her a piece of mushroom, which she loves. So yeah, she's a really good eater normally. She has come into the kitchen in the mornings, and she has, while I'm making, what I'm doing, I'm stretching the milk on the coffee machine. The tea is, okay, this is my routine in the morning. I boil the kettle when I'm getting in the shower. I get out of the shower, dry her off with me, because she comes into the shower with me. Dry her off, come into the kitchen, and pour my tea pour my water into the mug without reboiling it, because I've got to be able to drink this before I leave the house half an hour, 20 minutes later. And if I boil it again, it's going to be too hot. Make the tea, and while the tea is doing its timing for 3 minutes, it has to be 3 minutes. While it's doing its timing for 3 minutes, I start doing my husband's coffee. So we've got the really basic coffee machine now. My good one died, and this one isn't programmed for time. So you've got to time it for the 30 seconds. Excuse me. So the timer is going for the tea. I take it down. I mark off 30 seconds for the extraction for the coffee. And then I let the timer do its thing for the rest of the 3 minutes. And then I start stretching the milk, both for the coffee and for the WheatBix. So she gets warm milk in her WheatBix, and the apple, cinnamon, and some yogurt to thicken it up. And that's kind of my morning routine for her breakfast. She's come in the last couple of mornings doing her point, you know, can I have? At the biscuit jar or box that I've got, where I've got some chocolate wafers and vanilla wafers in a tub for her. And I'll keep telling her, no, you don't get them before breakfast. These are the snacks that she kind of gets in the evening. I don't think my husband gives it to her. My husband actually, I think, gives her fruit while her lunch is steaming. And I give her the biscuit then in the evening sometimes. No, not before dinner. No. So she gets the wafer. Now she knows where the tub is because it's out on the counter. So yeah, she gets the wafer in the evenings when I'm home from work, and I'm feeding her in the evening meal. So yeah, she's been asking for these biscuits in the mornings, and it's like, no, you don't get wafers in the mornings, because I need her to eat her breakfast. It's a new routine now. Is I get the coffee made, the tea made, her breakfast on, and then I run outside and feed the pets. So it's all still cooling down while I'm still busy, and then I come back in and I feed Sophie, have some breakfast, try and remember to have lunch in my bag, and then I ended up with a week off work. So we're still up at stupid o'clock because Sophie's alarm clock goes off at 5, I think, where she comes into bed for a feed, and then at sometime after 6, she gets off the bed with her bunny and goes walkabout, and she may or may not come back in a hurry with a book, and it seems to be the same book. And this morning she came in and she had chewed a bit more of the book off, so she had a bit of the cardboard in her mouth as she came into us. Yeah, I don't like her going off and playing on her own, because, it's when kids go quiet that they're into mischief. But it was kind of nice to have a lie-in this morning while she went and played. And then I came into the lounge and found out that she was playing with a pair of my husband's wire trimmers next to a cardboard box. So I don't know what she was doing with it, but either way she was quiet. But she watches him do his soldering, and I think she thinks she can be just like him. This is our delightful 16-month-old now? She's 16 months? March, April, May, June? Yeah, she is. She's 16 months old. So yeah, we're going to have to start getting her a toolkit at the rate we're going, sooner than later. She's still having 2 naps a day. I think some of the other mums are saying theirs don't have the afternoon nap, but it depends on her day. If she gets stuffed around with her morning sleep, it's really hard for her to catch up on her afternoon sleep. And then we try not to put her down to bed until after 8, unless she's particularly crotchety. So yeah, anytime around 8:30, she'll be banished off to bed, and then she sleeps. Excuse me. She sleeps until we go to bed, and then she wakes up, and I've gone, hell no, I'm not feeding you. So I'll give her a cuddle and put her back down to bed, so she doesn't get a feed at 10ish at night. But she does tend to get brought into bed for feeds throughout the night. For now, and we'll see how we go. So far, I'm still surviving. But what invariably happens is my husband will wake and get her. I don't even have to get up to go and get her, and he brings her into me, and I just roll over. We snuggle up and she feeds. No, my husband said he doesn't even need to attach the coupling. No, she's very good at doing that. In fact, one night she tried latching on and she didn't. She missed the nipple and she gave me a huge hickey. And I didn't even realize she wasn't latched on properly. It's like care factor 0 at 2 and 3 in the morning. And then at the 5 a.m., so she only takes one side at that time of night, and then at the 5 a.m. kind of wake up, she gets both sides. And that's her up for the morning. So my husband drops me into work to save me having to hunt down a parking spot, which are few and far between. Drops me into work, comes home, and gets her to bed shortly after that. Oh no, they watch Bluey or they watch Octonauts on TV, and she sits down on the couch and she will actually watch it. She'll have her Flopsy Bunny in one hand. Oh, we put Flopsy into the wash on the weekend because he was filthy. And when she was being put down to bed, and she hated it, she hated going to bed without Flopsy, she wouldn't suck her fingers. She would only suck her fingers when she had Flopsy in her fingers, which I thought was really, really interesting. So yeah, she'll sit there with Flopsy in her hand, fingers in her mouth, and she'll be watching Bluey, I think it was, when I saw her, but sitting up on the couch all nice and proud and all on her own. But in the evenings, she's starting to come in for cuddles, which is really cool. And one night, I was sitting on the couch next to my husband, and she climbed in between us, and she started rubbing his back. This is so cute. So yeah, she's an awesome kid. I'll say that now. She'll probably hit 2, and she won't be so awesome, and then she'll hit a teenager, and I'll go, oh my god, I'm going to kill her. But she's cute now, so they get past that whole survival stage. It's terrible. I can say this now because I've got adults. My next youngest is 19. And yes, now my kids were pretty good until they got to middle teenage years, and then separation issues caused issues, and they became less faithful. But they're starting to kind of slowly come back. One still has an issue. And I don't know where I went wrong with him, but he's got bees in his bonnet that I can't seem to break through. So I miss out, his kids miss out. And then I just try and do the right thing. But yeah, we used to get on really, really well. But not so much now. Alright, look, I'm at the hour mark. This has been fun. I have got... Well, I'm struggling to really tell because of the coloured background. This is one of the things that I don't necessarily like about Diamond Art Club, is the spoilers. When I work, as you've probably seen on one of my other whips, I'm working on like a 2" by 3" bit, and I can't see the rest because it's the opaque cover, and I love that. I love not being able to see what's coming. Here, the colors are so rich on the canvas, and then I'm putting the diamonds on, and yes, they're richer, but I've got some smattering of drills through here, and I don't know if you can see the progress that I've really made or not. So it's my opinion. Look, I know. Yeah, the spoilers. I don't like the spoilers. I've watched Jeremy do his coat art with the clear cover, and again, the canvas is so rich in color. I've kind of gone, yeah, but you get to see everything beforehand, and then you put the drills on, and yeah, it's impressive, but it's not like the double wow factor. The problem, I think, with Diamond Art Club, and particularly with Mandie Manzano, is that it's really nice working within the black lines, and those black lines aren't straight, so you can't really have my normal sections that I would do, my normal kind of rectangle sections with the hard lines. It would be a less fluid project. So I don't know. I've got the opaque cover that I could put on, and I guess I could put the light through it and slice along some of the heavier black lines, so I've got shape with my X-Acto knife. That might be something I might do. I need to have a large work area to do that on, so I'll need to clear the dining table or take it into the kitchen where I've got really good light to be able to do that. That could be one of my workarounds. Like I say, I'm not a fan of the clear cover because of the noise, because of the amount that's uncovered. like, you know, you've seen me get stuck on it with my watch. You've seen me just put my arms up. You've seen me put the tray down. The tray has got stuck. So little things like that. I'm kind of going, I don't have this the way I work my opaque. So I've just got to work it out as I go. I might try the opaque covers and cut them into shape, which will give me that dynamic shape. It will give me that kind of reveal too. I think that might be my happy medium. It's just my OC, my fastidiousness, my fussiness. If you're into astrology, it might be my Virgo-ness. I don't know. I'm not on a subscriber to that one. Not anymore. I used to look at horoscopes on a daily basis and go, oh my God, I'm going to meet my boyfriend, you know, today, or whatever it is. You know, I think they just change it in the newspapers for whatever bloody well suits them. Or you can read into it with whatever suits you. So, yeah. Claptrap. I just became cynical because it never seemed to be my time. But then I've got a friend who has had a very rough couple of years with work and family and everything else, and she would go, no, not my time, it's not my time, it's not my time. And now suddenly something has changed, the tide has changed for her, and she's got a partner, and her daughter is doing really well, and she's got work again, and everything seems to be, you know, just singing the right song this time around. So I don't know. I don't know if it's fate or karma or life, just has swings and roundabouts. She became very cynical from a faith point of view. I know it's easy to do. You know, you get friends who have been part of the church for years and they get cancer. And you've got parents who've been part of the church for years and they get cancer, and you kind of go, what the hell? You know, shit just hits people. But sometimes you can kind of go, oh, you know, it's God's will or it's not God's will, or, you know, pray for healing. You know, I prayed for healing when I first recommitted, I suppose, as being a Christian, for a girl who had cancer, and the minister tried to say that there was somebody in her family with disbelief, and that's why she wasn't healed. And we don't see the biblical healings like we used to do, and yeah, I don't know. My head goes one way one day and another day. Yeah, I don't have the answers. I know what's got me through some occasions, but it doesn't mean that the hard times haven't been any bloody harder than anyone else going through it without faith, or they've gone through it easier without faith, or whatever their journey has taken them on. I think a lot of it is down to attitude, how you deal with stress, how you deal with the crap that comes your way, perspective. There was a video, might have been, is it Gold Post or Gold something? Gold Cast maybe on Facebook. There's some videos that come on, kind of inspirational kind of stuff. And they were talking. It was a university lecturer, and she's kind of saying, you know, I've got a 600-gram bottle here, or 600ml bottle, and does it weigh anything? You know, and people are saying, no, it weighs that. And she goes, and if I hold it for 5 minutes, what's going to happen? And, you know, if I hold it for an hour, what's going to happen? And if I hold it for days, what's going to happen? And the people are kind of saying, well, your arm's going to get sore and blah, blah, blah. And she's going, but did the weight change at all? So it's about how long you carry stuff for. It's about how you carry it. It's maybe how you load your life up. You've got the story as well of the filling the bottle with sand, stone, and pebbles. And if you fill it with sand first, you're not going to fit in the stones and pebbles, and they're the important things in life. And if you fill it with stones in first, you prioritize your big things, and then you have all the little things, and it all fits in the jar. So yeah, different things like perspective. And then you've got the likes of Tony Robbins and other motivational speakers, and they do it without the God influence. Doesn't mean that necessarily the lessons aren't either originally in the Bible, because they're good life lessons, or what? But yeah, and we lose community. I think we've very much lost community. We've lost the storytellers, and the catching up with people, and people have become more isolated in their homes. And then you've got the internet, and people with anxiety issues who don't want to go out and be with people, and then they think that being with internet people might be real, and then they get scammed or not, because there's nasty bastards out on the internet. Yeah, it's just the cauldron of life, eh? I haven't signed off yet because Sophie went back to sleep. I'm going to finish these arrows and then I'm going to sign off. But yeah, I am really, really enjoying working on Diamond Art Club. I'm enjoying working with the rounds. In the most part, they're good. I did just put one down that had a large skirt on it. I'm not afraid to use it, because what I've found is if you put the one with the skirt down, the skirt just fills the gap, or because it's only a skirt, the other drill can still stick next to it because it's sitting a little bit on the skirt, so there's a tiny overlap. So I'm not afraid of skirts. The drills I'm getting in my custom, there's one particular group of the squares that kind of have a little step on the bottom of them. Those I can't use because they just don't sit flat. I'm not going to shave them. I hope I'm not going to run out. I will let the seller know when I narrow it down, because I haven't come across all colors just yet. I will let her know that there's an issue with the drills, but I'm hoping it's probably going to be just a once-off. In the production error, maybe it's just the bag that I've got out that has some of these with the lips underneath. But yeah, it's like a little step. When I get enough of them, I'll probably chuck them in a boat and try and take some close-up pictures of them, because there's no way I'll ever capture that on video because my lens doesn't zoom in. It's fixed lens, which is why when I'm doing my videos, I need to take the pictures for you and upload the picture rather than trying to get it to zoom in. So you might get a vague idea of color, but you're not going to get the zoom in without me taking a still and adding that in editing. Alrighty, that is all of my rice arrows. Oops. Trying to put a container lid on my pen. I do love this large tray. It's got nice high sides so you can rattle without them falling off. And on a canvas like this where it's super, super sticky, yeah, they'd go flying off and get stuck, and I'd be pulling tweezers out all the damn time. Alright, cold tea, yum. Cold sweet tea, sweet white tea. Alright, there you go. There's my up to. You can actually see that maroon purple, or the wine burgundy, come through, because the center of that was all white. The ones are pale pink, and what I do like, they do fill in the whiter gaps, or they cover in the bits. So Look, I know it's going to look really cool. I can see the shimmer of the ABs here and here. There's actually quite a bit of AB through that patch, which you can't see because it's slightly off camera. Okay. But yeah, there's ABs through here, and there's ABs through here, and then there's the pink ABs here. So very, very cool. Loving it. I didn't want to go super, super large to alternate between the square and the round. So what I'll probably do is get up to maybe here-ish. Got a bit of a problem with the back, and then it goes further up, but I'll try and keep it reasonably even. And then I will swap back to my square of my sunset image, because that's roughly 3 sections deep. So sorry, I'll try and do 3 rows then on my sunset custom, and then come back to this and do another chunk, and it's rolled up in toilet roll, just keeping it compact. I think I've got a foam roller somewhere in the middle. It's not quite as wide as the thing, but the toilet roll just keeps it lightly compressed and doesn't do anything else other than that. And when I do the next section, this bit will also be starting to get rolled, so I'll be working in the middle, and I'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm going to put the clear cover on, the opaque covers on it for the next chunk, so it's torn up to about here, the end of the washi tape, and when the toilet roll stops, so that I'll put the sticky cover on the outside and be able to use the opaque sheets, and we'll do that. So I'll go and clear the table while my daughter is asleep, and hopefully it's not too crazy with my hubby's toys. Yeah, one thing I have found with the rolling of this up is, so I've put the cover down flat there. When I go to roll it up, it catches, and I get these like rivers. So, yeah, it doesn't quite lie brilliantly. So hopefully I won't have too much issues. Because of the way I slice the opaque cover up, and will slice it up, hopefully it won't be too much of an issue, that it will have enough of a give between the sections. So, yeah, I'll plot that out. I'll get working with my X-Acto knife, and yeah, have some fun planning these lines and planning sections and seeing where bits end and bits begin. Yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me with my whip. Thank you for listening to me ramble on about all sorts of things, and hopefully just reconnecting. Check out my channel if you would like. There is a couple of other WiPnChats that also touch on some other things. I'm going to enjoy my Rice Krispie biscuits. Sophie's wide awake and she's now yelling and talking, and probably talking to the cats out her window. So I'll try and eat this before she sees it, because she's going to want chocolate, and it's going to go absolutely everywhere. Maybe I'll give it to her in the high chair, so that she can make a mess on the high chair and not actually spread it around the rest of the lounge. All right, thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye.